What's up, y'all? How you doing? Hope you're doing well here on this Wednesday, February the 18th, 2026. Before we get going today, quick shout out, another birthday shout out today. Our very own Elijah Nixon, our minister of vibes, our vibes man on the WBR sports staff. He turns an undisclosed age today. If he chooses to disclose that, I will let him. But it is a happy birthday to him.
Happy birthday to Elijah.
He is not working, and hopefully,
Hopefully, everyone
he's
deserves their birthday.
Hopefully, he's not. Yeah. Hopefully, he's not watching this. But if you're spending your birthday doing that, then buddy, you and the lady need to be out doing something a little more fun than that on your birthday. I'll tell you that much. We got a lot to discuss on the show. Got me, got Tom Barclay, Lord of the Strings back there. Tom, how you doing? How are we looking around the area today?
Honestly, it feels kind of nice-ish out there. It feels very spring, but then you take a look at it, and then you're like,
little.
I mean, when you can see
scruffy,
the stadium, the big screen there from that far during the daytime, you're dealing with pretty dreary day.
Yeah, we got to defrost our windows here in the Scruffy City.
Yeah,
we got a lot going on
course,
there. There's Smokey's Park over there.
Covenant Health Park,
looking nice today.
It's it's at least green.
Yes,
it's nice they put down the turf.
The green breaks it up and looks nice.
And then of course this is always nice. I always love going.
We got some dude bros
Dandridge
fishing.
And Douglas Lake there.
We got some dude bros fishing down there.
Yeah.
And I had to tell people all the time when we especially we get going in the summer. There's more people out there. If you want to take some 10 and 3 signs out there and they are family friendly, we will be happy to add them to the rotation here at the program.
Careful on that Douglas Lake shore there. That'll quickly fill up, and you'll see it up to that where that clay line is at the top there.
Get some people out there catching some bass, some catfish, some bluegill maybe. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see what's biting.
They'll fill the lake up here pretty soon. I think we're getting close to that time of the year.
I'll tell you,
they put it back to summer levels.
If they need some confidence, we got over there at the family farm. We got the confidence building lake that's stocked with fish. That I'll tell you, you just you throw anything on in there, you can catch whatever you want, man. It's it'll make you feel great. You're like, I'm a professional angler. Look at this. Every time I cast, getting a bite. You know why? Because we stocked it. That's why. Because we stocked it. That's although it is nice to go catch something and then go just immediately go grill it up there. That's a good summer activity. That is good, wholesome family fun right there in the spring, summer, early fall. Go out there, get a nice catch, grill it up yourself. You know what? That's what generations and generations have done. And there's few things in this world that we can do that are actually like, you know what? I bet my grandfather's grandfathers did this. I bet my grandmother's grandmothers did this. I bet they went out around this same region catching fish, maybe Eastern Kentucky, some of them, going out there, catching some fish, grilling them up, eating them. That's a good day. It's a better day than Lady Vols basketball had last night for certain. I didn't like, Tom, I didn't like, and the schedule is what it is, and that's, you got to go play it. It's they make it as fair as they can, I think, for everybody. But because of the fact that it was a game that at Ole Miss that the weather had delayed, and then they had to kind of suspend and move it back, postpone it, whatever you want to call it. And they had to fit it somewhere before the end of the regular season, right? And there wasn't a tremendous amount of space to do that. Schedules kind of are what they are this year. They're not built to add games into them, right? And so Lady Vols had that tough game Sunday, Texas, here in Knoxville. Had a chance to beat them late, didn't do it, didn't get a shot off. Really frustrating loss. Decent enough performance, but frustrating loss. And then I did not like that just 2 days later they're on the road playing Coach Yo and her Ole Miss Rebels there. And that's a good team. They're ranked 17th in the country for a reason. And just 2 days after that game against Texas, and then they got another game coming up 2 days. Actually, I say 2 days from now. It's really 1 day from now. It was 2 days from yesterday where they're playing again. So the kind of attrition, it's built up a little bit with this team. There's been a couple absences here and there. They've just not the schedule, the difficulty of the schedule of the teams they're facing. It's been a little difficult lately. It just kind of has been. But on top of that, to then go there and add this one into it, that's a tough one. And they had to wear that one. 94-81. Offense was okay. Defense, not so much. And Kim Caldwell put it that way herself. She said there were no There were not enough stops. There were just not enough stops. And you can look at the score and say, 94 to 81 regulation. I'm going to put 2 and 2 together and say, I agree with you there. Not enough stops. And it's frustrating. They're at a difficult spot right now. And it's only her second season here. Even in the culture in which we live now, I don't think there's any reason to think that anything is falling apart there or, this isn't going to work and have to bring somebody else in. I don't think Danny White would want to do that because off the top of my head, I would tell you, I don't think Danny White likes admitting he potentially made a mistake in making the hire. That's not something Danny White likes to do. So I don't think that – I get why fans are going to have that conversation. And I would say a couple things there. One, let's see how it ends. Basketball is a postseason sport. Say this all the time, but if you are not going to judge, if you're going to say a good season for basketball is dependent on a good run in March, well, then let's wait until March to start complaining. If that's – I've never liked that either the regular seasons matter or they don't. And the conference standings matter or they don't. The conference tournament matters or it doesn't. Like these things, if you just say that this entire season, and it is a postseason sport, right? That is the most important thing. There's no question about that. But to say that those 1 to 6 games in the NCAA tournament determine your entire season, it's tough. It's tough to say that much. But if you are someone who believes that, if you are someone who believes that, then you need to wait until March before you really complain. That's my opinion. Or you're just kind of being negative for the sake of being negative because that's just kind of how you are. I will say it does not look great right now. It's one thing to, if you lose by double digits to a UConn, South Carolina, even an LSU, if you went to Austin and lost to Texas by double digits or, that would be one thing. Ole Miss is a solid team. You don't want to be going there and losing by double digits if you're the Lady Vols. That's if you're double digits behind a team sort of like that, then you have a few more questions, I think. So not a great night. A couple players did play well, a couple performances that were pretty good. Hurst shot the ball well. They did some good things, but just not enough. And I think at the bare minimum, I think they have to think about what are they surrounding her, Caldwell. If they're going to keep her and they're going to build this thing around her, they're going to take some lumps because she's a young coach with a lot of promise, plays a fun style of basketball when it works. Then I think you're going to have to either give her a long leash to work with or you're going to have to surround her with staff who have proven experience, years of experience at the higher levels of the sport in the college game, in big conferences. And why do I say that? Because there's a way, I think, with roster construction, there are things that if you've been in the league for a long time, you understand more sort of what you need physically. And I'm not saying Kim Caldwell doesn't know that. I don't know that she doesn't know that. I would like to see more evidence that she knows it. In fairness, let's be honest here. We're calling balls and strikes. I'd like to see more evidence that she knows that. But ball is ball is ball. You don't necessarily – like Urban Meyer had never coached in the SEC, really didn't have much SEC experience till he got to Florida. He did pretty well. So I'm not going to sit here and say that you can't just make a transition to something and it's just a different sport. But I think one of the biggest problems these Lady Vols have is that roster. But who built that roster? That would be Kim Caldwell and her staff. And sometimes you don't get this person you want in recruiting, so you pivot and go to another direction. And, sometimes you're taking the best available talent. I get all that, right? I get all that. You never get everybody you want. It just doesn't work that way. Even Nick Saban did not get all the people he wanted all the time, every year. So there will be times where you come up short looking for this person, so you pivot and you go, okay, well, we really wanted this post player, didn't get this post player, but I think now we can get maybe this bigger guard who's a significantly better player than the next post player on our board, and you have to make a decision based on that. You go, okay, am I going for just the most talented roster I can get, and then I'll adjust the style to fit that? Or do you say, you know what, no, I just need a post player? And these are the kinds of things that, like, for instance, I look at the Tennessee men, who we'll talk about them in a little bit. They have an injury concern going into tonight's game against Oklahoma that we'll discuss. But you look at Jalen Carey, for instance, for the men. A guy who at Vanderbilt last season, sometimes, and against Tennessee a couple of times, he was a very, very good player. But he also was a really inconsistent player, a really erratic player, a player who some people said had, and I think fair enough, a couple of attitude, work ethic issues here and there, things that he wasn't consistently dialed in, wasn't consistently just playing at the motor that you absolutely want, and not the player he can be because of that on a consistent basis. And that, if you were to say, does that sound like a Rick Barnes basketball player? I would tell you no. Not even close to what you think of as a typical Rick Barnes basketball player. But Tennessee needed a player who kind of fit that profile physically, and Tennessee went and got that guy. He may not have been the absolute perfect fit. In some ways he is, because physically he's rugged. He can, when he's really dialed in, he can go get double doubles. He can push you off the block. People jump off of him like he's a trampoline. In that way, he does fit a lot of what Rick Barnes wants. But you talk about some of the questions about attitude and some other things at times. Does he? And I'm not saying there's a difference in being lazy and not having like elite work ethic. Those are different things. Like these guys, you don't look physically the way Jalen Carey looks by being lazy. I can tell you that. Like you don't. Genetics help, and his dad, longtime NFL offensive lineman. Yes. Do genetics help? They absolutely do. But you don't look the way he looks physically by being lazy. It's just you're not consistently, relentlessly, every day clocking in, pushing yourself to the absolute max, which is what Rick Barnes guys tend to do. But they needed another big body. Barnes watched the way that Florida took care of them last season, watched what Houston did to them last season, and he said, I need a couple more big bodies. I need Estrella to get healthy, and I need to bring in another kid from the recruiting ranks, and he brought in Dwayne Brown II. And then he's like, I still need one more, brought in Jalen Carey. And there's a couple reasons you do that. One, because if you have one guy who has potential work ethic on your team, let's put it this way. And I'm not calling him this word. I'm saying I have heard, this is an expression I have heard before as it relates to Rick Barnes basketball programs. If you have one, I won't use the word. I'll say if you have one bad apple, you know what you have? One bad apple. And one bad apple could maybe spoil a bunch, but it doesn't always. If you got two bad apples, you have a locker room full of bad apples. You got one, then he can either assimilate or be cast aside. If you have more than one, that person's got an ally, and then that person can really start disrupting things in a locker room. And so, and I'm not saying Carey's like that. What I'm saying is there were questions there. And so Tennessee's always been like, we'll take one. We can have one of those on a team, but we're not going to have more than that because then you have a big problem. And so my point was they went and got somebody who wasn't a perfect fit, but was a very useful player, a player they're very glad to have, even though he's inconsistent, and a player who helps them win games. And that's why I wonder, is there someone in that Lady Vols program who has been around ball at the very highest level, who has said, hey, Kim, I know this is how you want to play. It's great. We'll do that. But we need a couple people who help with the plan B. We need to be able to do something else. We need different sorts of characteristics, right? I know, again, I reference this because I cover the men more often and I know that program more. They have people in their program who have been in the NBA for years and scouted. So they knew free agent-wise, building a roster, sort of how to do that. They brought in people who sort of moneyball things a little bit. They've got some analytics guys who show them the profile of players that they need to build a more complete team, that typically teams that win championships have teams that are built like this or play like this. Or if you have X, you need Y. If you got A, you need B. And they know that. And when I watch these Lady Vols, I just keep thinking, do they have that? Maybe they do. Maybe they do. And then, the offseason, the disciplinary issues with a very important player that's no longer with the team, maybe that just threw a big wrench into things. Maybe you're trying to run the thing around players who aren't perfect fits to run the thing now, stylistically, experience-wise. I don't know. I just get the sense watching them. That I don't know if they have that. That's the question I have. It's not, I don't know if that's fair. I don't know if that's unfair. But I'd be lying if I told you it wasn't something that I think when I watch them play. I wonder, because to build a team, you don't have to have done something before to do it, right? Because if you think about this, let's think about this in the simplest possible terms. If anybody who's ever done something had to do that thing the first time, right? They had to do it the first time. You don't go from 0 to 2. You don't go from 0 to 3. You go from 0 to 1. If you've never done something, at some point, you do it. If you do it, it's the first time. And that time doesn't have to be at Tennessee for it to be possible. So I'm not saying it's not possible. What I'm saying is I think I have questions about the way they've built that roster and the way that they're playing. And is that going to fit with the people they're trying to compete against? Because, let's be honest, another Pat Summitt's not coming through the door. Another Gino's not coming through the door. Another Don Staley not coming through the door. Another Kim Mulkey not coming through the door. And if she were, I wouldn't want to be in that door, if I'm just being honest with you. I would really, really, really not want to deal with the Kim Mulkey experience every day. Call me selfish. There's some sort of flamboyance that I like, but it's fun. Like the Vitello experience in some ways was fun. Mulkey's just a little bit, it's just extra. I don't know how I feel about all that. But my point is, I don't know. You can't go back now in time and say 2 years ago, okay, go hire Kara Lawson. You didn't do it. You went a different direction. You went with Kim Caldwell. And when you do that, I think you are sort of tacitly making an admission that you are going to take some time to build something. And I don't know that you can sit here, if you're being fair about it, and say right now you're already questioning, like, do they need to make a change now? I don't think that's the case. They made a decent run in the postseason last year. They brought in some good recruits. They've been ranked for better, pretty much the entire season. You can see in some areas they are better than they were a few years ago. And so, yes, I think there are concerns, but I don't know if it gets to that point. I don't know if it gets to that point with me just yet. I think, but I do think it's fair, and I think if I were to give Kim some advice that I don't know if she would take or would not take, I don't know her that great just yet. But that breezing past Coach O there in the handshake line, that's not a good look. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. Not the worst thing I've ever seen. Coaches sometimes after games, right in the heat of the moment, they're not feeling great. They are a little angry. They say something they don't mean. They act a little flippant, or they act a little bit blasé, or whatever you want to call it. It's not the end of the world. But I will say it's not a great look, that post-game handshake, because what made it worse was when Caldwell walked by her. If you go back and watch it again, Coach Yo laughs about it, almost like a dismissive laugh, like the kind of laugh that you would give like a younger sibling who was being petulant and silly, and that's not a great look. There have been a couple times this season where I do think Kim Caldwell, and if it works, it works. But there have been a couple times where I wonder, is the way that are you projecting the image you want to be projecting? Because we live in a world where that stuff really matters. And I'll put it this way. If you are so bad at your job, if the results are so bad that nothing you say or do matters, well, then say whatever you want, do whatever you want. It's not going to matter. You're still going to get fired. So go ahead and be honest and say whatever you think. If you're winning enough games, if you're winning at the highest level, then I don't like putting it this way, but look around society, you'll have different rules. You win enough, you can, for the most part, go do what you want, go say what you want, and people will deal with it. You know who I just mentioned? Kim Mulkey. You know why you deal with all that mess that comes with her? All those bad optics, all those cringy moments? She wins. Every year, she wins. That's why you deal with it. So if you're bad, if you're so bad, say whatever you want. Do whatever you want. If you're the best or in that group, say whatever you want, do whatever you want. If you're anywhere in the middle, then moments matter. Moments matter quite a bit. Moments turn on the way you handle things in press conferences, the way you handle things in games when cameras are on you, the way that your players and people and peers talk about you. Those things start to matter when you're anywhere in the middle. And those things can help you or they can hurt you, but they do matter. So if you're anything but the best or the worst, then those things matter. And there have been times this season where I would safely put Caldwell in the middle there. Clearly not the best yet. Obviously not the worst. They're doing okay. So you're in the middle. And I know Tennessee, the expectations, the standards, that's another topic for another day. I understand that. But what I'm saying is right now, she's in that zone where little things that you do, little moments here and there can turn into bigger moments. Like if you become a meme, if you become a GIF, if you go viral for, a quote in a press conference about your team quitting, or if you go viral because you're looking a little bit nonplussed as you're walking by a coach for a quick, I'm only here because I'm here so I don't get fined handshake. Not a great look. But again, we'll see. They got more time. It's a postseason sport. We'll see what happens. Speaking of basketball, though, Tennessee, the men are hosting a big game tonight. I said big game because it's an SEC game. They're all big games. The Vols hosting Oklahoma, 7 p.m. They're on ESPN2, I believe. And Emily and I will be there. I think Ralphie's going down there with us, too, to help us shoot the game because yours truly, not someone who's very good on the other side of the camera. This side of the camera, you think this side of the camera is bad. You put this joker on the other side of the camera and you see what happens. Not great. So we'll be a 3-person team down there at Food City Center tonight. Big game for the Vols because this was the third game of the Eat Your Vegetables stretch. This was the Eat Your Vegetables stretch of the schedule. 3 games, got to win them all. I mean, you're not in trouble. They're an NCAA tournament lock. But you don't want to lose any of those 3 games. They won the first 2. Here's the third one. Because, now you've got, after this, you got Vanderbilt on Saturday in Nashville. Big game, big scene there. That's going to be a really fun one, 2 p.m. ESPN. We'll all be there for that one. That'll be a fun one over there at West End in the old Memorial Gym. And then you're still playing Vanderbilt again after that. You're hosting Alabama. You got a couple of road games you should win, but this is a game Tennessee's got to win. Here's where things are with this game. Oklahoma is a 10.5 point underdog in this game, so Tennessee opened as a 10.5 point favorite, despite J.P. Estrella not being available, perhaps. He was listed last night as doubtful with I always love how this is described, lower extremity injury. Unspecified lower extremity injury. Now, if you're J.P. Estrella, you're 6'11", 245 pounds. There's a lot of lower extremities there. You got a lot of arms and legs. So this is clearly something in the leg, whether it's a hip, knee, ankle, shin, whatever, something, calf, something in there. Hammy, I don't know, something in there. But he was practicing on the side yesterday over there at the arena. He was on the side working with trainers, working with medical staff. My thought on this was if this were an NCAA tournament game or something like that, or they're playing in Rupp, I think he plays. But if they go through warm-ups with him tonight and they don't like the way things look, I would imagine that they don't play him. And that's not at all disrespect to Oklahoma, but you're playing Oklahoma at home. You ought to be able to win that game. You ought to be able to win that game without J.P. Estrella. Oklahoma can score the ball. They just can't stop anybody. And so, but again, those teams can kind of scare Tennessee at times because if you can score, sometimes Tennessee doesn't score a lot. So you got to play defense, but eat your vegetables. Eat your vegetables. Take care of this game. Take care of this game. This is a game, with no disrespect to Oklahoma, but you look at the record, you're playing this game in Knoxville. You ought to win this game. You ought to win this game. And Tom, can we play the odds? Are we good to go there?
Yeah, we should be good to go there. Which want to hear from who first?
We'll go to Bishop Boswell first.
First.
Tennessee sophomore guard Bishop Boswell, the guy who's got the magnet on his face in games, you can tell, because he seems to get a shot to the face every single game. Tough, hard-nosed, 6'4", sophomore guard, versatile guy. Needs to stop getting 2 fouls in the first half all the time. That's not good, but he is what he is. He's a glue guy, and he's a very, very, very important player for Tennessee. He ties things together on offense. He runs around with the team's best scorer on offense or on defense. He gets assists. He gets rebounds. He gets in there and steals. He'll hit the three if you leave him open. He's a really important player. He's a very, very Rick Barnes player, and Amari Evans is the next guy in that line of Barnes players at Tennessee, those kind of, the Meshachs and those types. So let's hear from him. We spoke with him yesterday before practice, and here is Tennessee sophomore guard Bishop Boswell.
What stands out about Oklahoma?
Been playing really well as of late. Dynamic guards. They have a lot of guys that can shoot the ball, space the floor, small ball lineups. Guys off the bench that can really shoot the ball. So I think just versatility. Yeah.
Bishop is kind of merging into a leadership role this year, to have guys like Ethan come in and have a big game, then it's Amari's game or Troy's game. What's kind of your message to them about, like, hey, be ready for that moment, because they're not really going to have the same amount of minutes each night?
Yeah, I think Coach kind of said we need everybody, and whether I'm in foul trouble or Jacoby's not playing well, it takes everybody. We're gonna need a different person every night, because every game is a different matchup, different things we're trying to attack. So yeah, if we can get the most out of everybody on the team, we'll be successful.
Rick talked the other night about your foul trouble and said that part of it's a byproduct of you defending the other team's best player. Is that what you chalk it up to, or do you feel like there's still stuff that you can clean up?
Yeah, it's definitely stuff I could clean up. I will, a lot of the times guard other players, offensive guy. A lot of the times they want to draw fouls and stuff, but a lot of them is just me being sloppy, fouling when I probably don't have to, trying to be over aggressive and stuff like that. So watch film on it and trying to get better with that.
Is that more a mental thing, or like being too aggressive, or more of a fundamental technique thing?
Probably mental, yeah. I think just making the decision sometimes to, maybe just let that one go.
What have you seen from JP this last month or so since he's started playing more minutes?
Yeah, obviously we know how talented JP is. Just, every game getting more comfortable, taking on a leadership role, being vocal for us, but then also being that presence in the post that can get rebounds, score, do a little bit of everything. So, yeah.
You kind of stuffed the stat sheet. I mean, rebounds, assists, points. Which stat do you take the most pride in?
Wins and losses.
Okay, well, yeah. But like,
Outside of that, though, I mean, I love to get steals as a defender, but I think rebounding is huge, and that's something we harp on at Tennessee. You know, being physical, being able to rebound, and I think our bigs do such a good job of, you know, clearing out space. So I try to go in there and help them as much as I can. Yeah.
Is that your answer when you signed with Tennessee? Steals, rebounds?
I mean, I like assists too. I could probably go to each one. Why I like, yes, points, everything. So yeah, kind of like she said, just trying to do everything.
Yeah, what about points scored for the guy you're guarding on the other team? Where does that fit in there?
Yeah, obviously, every game we'll have like it'll be like points per how much you played, you know, and you could either be in the red or in the green. So, you know, I try my best to be in the green, even though I'm guarding probably, you know, a scorer on the other side. So.
What you see from Ethan the other night, and what's going to be key for him to sustain that?
Maturity, you know, the game. Obviously, he's played a lot of ball. He's really good player. But, you know, the game might be a little different from overseas, you know, so just he's adapted to that. You know, he stayed the course. And obviously, he was huge for us, and we're going to need him to continue to do that and continue to be that leader as kind of a guy that, you know, has played a lot of basketball.
Obviously, there's a couple games in SEC play that you guys wish that you could have back, but 8-4 right now. Where do you feel like you guys stack up compared to preseason when you really had no idea, you know, what this group was capable of?
Yeah, obviously, you know, the SEC every night, you know, you're going to get a battle, whether it's the top of the league or bottom of the league. You know, we put in a lot of work. We know how good we are. Obviously, you know, some of those games we like to have back, but you never want to peak too early, and, you know, we can't focus on that. We could just learn from it. And, you know, we have a lot of SEC games left going, so, you know, if we can just get rolling at the right time and, you know, stay the course, we'll be fine.
Do you have a magnet attached to your face?
According to Nate, yeah.
Why do you feel like you get hit all the time? Just because you're in somebody else's bubble?
Some of it, yeah. I think, you know, me being aggressive, me, you know, taking up player space, and then sometimes I don't even know, to be honest. But yeah.
That was Tennessee sophomore guard Bishop Boswell, the man with the magnet on his face, the magnetic face. And,
that's a fun one, honestly. Not fun for him, obviously, since he's the one getting hit in the face. But
one of my favorite moments of this season was talking. A couple of us were kind of talking off the record to Boswell, because sometimes after a game he'll go out there and shoot extra free throws and stuff because he's just that kind of guy. He'll, you know, his mom will be rebounding for him and he'll be shooting free throws at like 11:30 at night. Just one of those. He's a gym rat, right? One of those types. And so he was out there shooting. We were out there working and doing some of our stand-up stuff on the court after the game for the news for that night and the next morning. And so, I forget who asked him what it says. Like, Bishop, do you really have a magnet on your face? And he was like, I mean, maybe. It just kind of laughing around, being like, it's funny, but it don't feel good. Like it's, everybody else seems to enjoy laughing at it. I'm kind of surprised when you look at it that he doesn't have like, you know, he doesn't walk around with like bags under his eyes and like, you know how someone looks like, you know, you break a nose. I've broken my nose a few times playing ball. Like your face, you know, your schnoz looks a little bit kind of a little crooked and you got a little bags under your eyes and some bruising and kind of looks like that a little bit. I'm a little surprised he doesn't just kind of look like that all the time with the number of shots he takes to the face. I mean, it is like, it is what I would call an alarming number of shots to the face that he takes, because he's a really physical, aggressive defender. He'll get, you know, he'll get right up into guys, like into their bubble. And sometimes, you know, you're getting a rebound or it happens a lot of times in basketball where you turn, and when you turn, your elbow's turning with you. And if you're in a defensive position, kind of right there with your hand out, extended in front of the face, and you're doing that, when that elbow turns, if you're not exactly ready, bam. I mean, it's an elbow to the face every time. Or, you know, you can be trying to draw a charge and you know, you could take, you know, like even like a knee to the face, or you could be going for a loose ball sometimes. Like, you know, he was going for a loose ball in the game against LSU and was diving on the floor and took a shot to the face there. And that was the double whammy, because he was called for the foul, and it was the right call. He committed a foul, I think. It is close. It could have gone either way, but it is more of a foul on Boswell than it was the other way. So no problem with the officiating there. But by diving in, he got the foul called on him and took a shot to the face, which is what would be called a double whammy. If you go no whammies, no whammies, no whammies, stop, that would stop.
How
it.
many people are going to get
that
that
stop?
reference?
Some will. That's
sure
a,
people
that's
our
a
age
stop
would,
with two whammies right into your face.
Classic staying home from sick game show there, by the way.
Yes, and I was really good at faking being sick at school because I knew that if it were my parents, I would know they would probably be like, "Oh, you're fine, whatever." But if I could get word to my grandma that anything was not right, she'd be at the school in 2 seconds flat.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, "My stomach hurts," and then I could still convince her, like, "No, we need to go get pancakes or a cheeseburger." And then go home and watch game shows.
I don't know if that's going to convince anybody.
They go back to the farm and watch game shows, basically.
Yeah.
That was but you know what? God bless my grandma. Rest in peace. She's gone 11 years. I still talk to her every day, miss her every day. Only had one grandparent. It was the only one I ever needed. She was the best. A caveat there: the best to her grandsons. A little harder on her granddaughters, but
Really?
I would file that under not my problem. That's what I would always tell my sister and my cousins, who the girls. I'll be like, hey, I'm sorry for you, but that's not my problem. Me and the rest of the boys, we can do no wrong. We can do whatever we want, and it's just boys being boys, and we took advantage of that so much. Oh, my stomach hurts. Can you go get me at school? No problem. Hey, there's something going on at school or whatever. I need a couple bucks for this. Oh, here you go. Just all the time.
I mean, my mom was a nurse, so there was no slipping fake sickness by.
But the golden ticket though was when each of us turned 18. Mm-hmm. Then we could always, because grandma was getting older then, still smoking like a chimney, but and these long like 120 menthols, like comical, like Cruella de Vil looking lung darts. And she, we were 18. We're like, hey grandma, do you need a carton of smokes? And she'd be like, oh sure, probably. And so she'd just give you a wad of cash, and you would go get it, kept the change every time. It was just like an ATM withdrawal. It was like, hey, Grandma, we know you're never going to quit. Do you need a carton? And just she ready to get it quit.
It reminds me of my grandma. She would send me, when I turned of age to be able to do this, send me out to the old liquor store.
Of course.
Go pick up
when
some
you turn
Tom
21,
Collins
you can
mix
do that too. Sure. Or get a little sherry that she would like to have after dinner, or
Johnny Walker.
But
label.
when we as soon as we turned 18, it was like everybody was always, because now if we knew there was ever a chance that she would quit, we wouldn't have done this. But I think she chain smoked since like the age of 8, I think, or something. That generation, right? And so we were just always like, hey, you need some? You could get cash every time. It was so easy. And now it's like there's no equivalent for that. It could be like, you want some cake? I mean, I don't know what you would say now, because like not as many people smoke. So it's like
once I turned into adult, Grandma got real cool.
Yeah, she's real cool.
She was always cool, but it's just kind of funny to think about.
Oh yeah, I was always the best. Always the
being
best.
a helper there.
No question about it. And we got still a lot more to discuss on this show. We've got coming up, we'll shift to baseball, I think, in the final segment. And not at all to disrespect the number 1 ranked unanimous Lady Vol softball team.
No, for sure.
We talked about them a lot yesterday. They look fantastic. And we're going to talk about them throughout the season because they look very, very good. Early days, early doors, but long way to go. But you just could not ask for a better start than the one that they've had to this season. And so they look like a contender. So we'll be talking about them quite a bit through the year. But now we're going to take a break and talk about that Tennessee baseball game last night, where one of Tennessee's two-way talents, a couple of them actually, got on the mound and looked pretty good. We'll talk about that here in just a second on 10 and 3. Secret time. Yeah, we as a quick heads up, we had a few technical difficulties early. We got those squared away. So if you missed the early part of the show on the live stream, it has been recorded. We will have it up for you very, very soon, and it'll re-air tonight at 7. So,
well, unfortunately, the people that are on the live stream can't see that right now since we're playing ads.
Yeah. So, but don't That's correct. That's a very good point.
We'll tell them
So,
when we get back here, I think.
If you're
Probably a
if you're
good
if you're
idea.
listening on
Yeah.
if you're watching on one device and listening on the other, and you somehow we found the very minuscule part of the Venn diagram where
The
those
person
two
that
things
loves
connect,
both YouTube and
just
WBR
needs all
Plus
needs
telling
all
you,
of it
need it on
mainline
all TVs. They're
into
trying to
the veins.
trying to support us.
Yes, but we got that cleared away. We had a bit of a kerfuffle, bit of a situation, but we got that cleared away. We are all
Sure
good.
did.
That's life in the digital
Sometimes it
digital
happens.
streaming space.
It just happens sometimes.
That's sometimes radars don't radar, things don't do what they're supposed
1
to
minute
do.
left, by the way.
And you got to do what you got to do. And I will mention this too, in case I don't get a chance to mention this during the break or before we get out of here in the last segment. That Georgia Tech football game against Tennessee Georgia Tech that's on September 12th. Georgia Tech will now have 2 extra days to get ready for that, by the way, because they're playing Colorado in the first week, and they're supposed to play that game on September 5th, the Saturday, but it's been moved up a couple days for TV to Thursday, September 3rd, which is, drumroll please, the birthday of this fella right here. I will be an undisclosed
30 seconds
age.
left.
Just kidding. I'll be 44. And makes me nauseous just to say that.
You're 1 year old. I don't want to say
Makes me-
1 year away from being on the other side of 50. Not to put anything to perspective. For
yeah,
you.
but it's,
But you're looking good at 40. Honestly.
I'll tell you, I feel already about 65, but
5 seconds
that's my
left.
brain's fault. It had a thing years ago. Welcome back to 10 at 3. Wes Rucker and Tom Barclay coming to you here on Wednesday, February the 18th, 2026. And if you missed Secret Time, if you were one of those on the stream who did not get the Secret Time.
They didn't get the first half of the show either, from what we learned.
We apologize for that. We got that fixed. No problem about that. Sorry about that. But we got that fixed, and so you'll have that at 7, and we'll have it even before that. We'll have it up on WBR Plus and on 10 News and all those other things all the other places that we send it. But a quick note: Georgia Tech, that season opener, Georgia Tech, Colorado, got moved from Saturday, September 5th to Thursday, September 3rd, and because of that, the Yellow Jackets will now have 2 extra days to prepare for Tennessee's visit down there in Atlanta on September 12th. So, and that can help when you're facing a unique offense kind of like Tennessee. So, even though I imagine if you're Georgia Tech, even though you're opening with Colorado, which is a power conference opponent, you're spending time in the summer and in the spring on Tennessee because you cannot prepare for that offense in a couple days. It's not possible. So they'll get a couple extra days to refresh though after their season opener, so that it's not like the end of the world or anything, but certainly I would say a slight advantage probably for Georgia Tech there. A mild one, but we'll see. We're switching over to baseball now, where Tennessee did beat the number, hilariously, 3/13 Tennessee baseball team, because the 2 polls are not, major polls are not anywhere remotely
Where is
close
that,
to each other.
that discrepancy coming in there? Just
Because Tennessee's got, I think, a top 5 roster, but a first-year head coach.
I guess that makes sense in
Some
some
people are saying, prove it to me, which is fine. And I've said this before, the D1 baseball guys are the poll I usually use, so I reference them as number 13 Tennessee baseball, not 3/13. Kendall Rogers and those guys are the best. We'll have Kendall on the show at some point for sure. He and his team do, Joe Healy, all those guys do a great job covering all things college baseball for D1 baseball. I almost never ever endorse anyone going anywhere for their information other than where I work, because I'm a good company guy. But I also give credit where it's due, and the D1 baseball guys have been covering college baseball better and longer on a national level than anyone. So they're the best, and that's why I use their poll. A lot of us do. ESPN uses their poll as well. But they've got Tennessee at 13, and I don't think that's disrespectful. It's early in the season. If Tennessee's still ranked what some people think is way too low later in the season, then it can maybe be disrespectful. It's not right now. But anyway, Tennessee took care of that group of UNC Bulldogs, UNC Asheville Bulldogs, 10-3. And interestingly, Blaine Brown, who two-way, I think, borderline phenom, hit 3 home runs opening weekend, starts on the mound as an opener Tuesday, he's an opener, so he's only pitching 1 inning. They're stretching him out, going to let him start as an opener. He faces 3 batters, strikes all of them out, and then he goes back to being the DH for the rest of the day, has an RBI double. This kid, he's a son of former Tennessee Titans All-Pro running back Chris Brown, 6'5", left-handed, huge power, and can run it up to 96 miles an hour plus on the fastball. A legitimate two-way talent. Tennessee's got a couple more of them too. Taylor Tracy, a 6'6" lefty from Texas, is a guy who pitched on the mound late last night, showed some good stuff too. He's a guy who can play and pitch as well. They got a couple of those guys. And they almost got a couple more of them, as you're going to hear from Josh Elander here in a second. There's a couple more of them that they almost got to come to school, but the draft said, you going pro right now. So Tennessee was lucky to get some of those guys in. Didn't get all of them in, obviously. But there's a lot of good things last night. We'll talk about those things here in a minute. But before you hear from me talking about it, let's hear from Josh Elander talking about it. Here's Tennessee coach Josh Elander. Cut this up a little bit. It's mostly him talking about Blaine Brown, because that's what I'm going to talk about. But here he is after last night's win.
Now 4 games in, what was the plan with Blaine, or kind of how do you plan on managing that going forward? I know it'll evolve, but kind of where you're at right now.
Yeah, I just want to get him to where he gets as many touches as a mound, where he's able to get his full routine in, right? So we're kind of balancing. It's a little bit of plus minus of when do you take BP, how much BP do you take, how do you mix in the offense versus the pitching. But he has some comfort there. I thought he was really, really good today, attacking the strike zone, threw a couple good changeups, good sliders too. So again, we'll continue to lengthen him out, but he's such a special talent. You got to be kind of delicate about how you attack it with him.
I know, like Ben said, it'll evolve, but could he have gone longer? Is he stretched out enough to have maybe gone another inning?
100%. Yeah, no, he is. Again, we just want him to wanted to be very specific with the task today. Was, hey, I want you to attack these first 3 hitters and then go in and do your thing with the bat. So he executed that, and then I'll get with Ryan and the rest of the crew and see what the plan is for next week.
What do y'all like about him as an opener?
I just think what's not to like, right? I mean, he's left-handed. It's 95, 96 miles an hour with some competitiveness, and then he's got some metrics. It's like 7-foot extension, so it's going to play hotter even than the velo says. But again, just the way he attacked the strike zone, we just want him to be a little more athletic, and he's done that with Ren on the mound. I mean, he's such a dynamic athlete, loose, and we just want him to do the same things he does on the offensive side, on the pitching side, and I think today was a good start with that.
If I'm not mistaken, he was thought to be more of a pitcher coming out of high school, but then he hits more. Last year, how has he evolved or changed as a pitcher since coming out of high school?
Well, I think, again, just the more you can touch the mound, right, the better, the more it's going to evolve over the course of time, right? But he's just, again, such a good athlete. We want him to keep what makes him good on the offensive side, I think can help him on the defensive side too, or the pitching side rather. But, again, it's real stuff. It's real. It's not just a guy that gets up there and throws. Like, I mean, he's got a plan and he's trying to execute, and he did really well tonight.
Josh, when you're out there recruiting, are you seeing more of these legitimate two-way type athletes now and or prospects players? And if so, why do you think that is?
I mean, I think there always is a bunch, right? And it can be tricky when you're recruiting, right? Because guys, there's more of them, right, that do it on the road. But it's like you have to have it's kind of the guessing game of, like, are they really good at both, or are they pretty good at each, and which one do they kind of evolve into, right? And I think each guy is mutually exclusive. But there's probably 5 guys a year that are pretty famous that can do it. I mean, one that comes to mind is Crew Schoolcraft, obviously, who never made it to campus, and Billy Carlson. Those guys were dynamic athletes that could impact the ball on the offensive side and then run it up to 98 to 100 miles an hour. So, again, there's not a ton of them, right, but some of them sneak to school. And Blaine was just a little bit of a late bloomer, right, and my goodness, I'm thankful he's here on campus right now.
How do you manage time with those guys in terms of, like, meetings, daily responsibilities? Is that case by case, or do y'all kind of set a plan for two-way guys in general?
Well, I think it just comes down to communication. That's something we take a lot of pride in this building, whether it be our staff and how we attack each day. But, like, even with Appy, who's not even a two-way guy, we're having to move his list, and Keegan's been amazing with that. But, Blaine will lift one day maybe with the position players, or, hey, he gets a lot of pitches, we'll move him to another day. And, again, just making sure that they're in a position where they have a sustainable workload, right? But then we're also monitoring with a lot of different things in-house. But it's communication is the key, but also, too, just having a real conversation like this, like, hey, how you feeling today? Do you need one more day? Or, hey, I'm feeling great, let's take some more swings. So I think that's the key to doing it the right way.
That's Tennessee coach Josh Elander, Tennessee first-year full-time head coach Josh Elander. We joke all the time that I guess technically, I think Tony Vitello got credit for the few wins over the past few years when he had been, as Elander so eloquently put it, launched from some games by the umpires, and so he'd been head coach a couple times here and there, and had won all those games.
Got a little experience.
He's got some experience doing that
under the belt when called to do it.
Sure, but now obviously a whole different kettle of fish when you are the head coach full time and building the program in your image and all these things, and so 4 games, 4 wins. So let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here, but a good solid start. And this weekend, interestingly, facing a Kent State team that you think Kent State, you don't think baseball, right? You just don't. I mean, you don't even think sports. You think of a tragedy years ago that had nothing to do with sports. But you also think of Nick Saban, I believe. I went to Kent State. So I think, or he coached there. I'm going to have to look that up now. I forget. I feel dumb now. I shouldn't have said that. It's one or the other. He's got some connection there. But if you look at, for instance, what you think of a Kent State, what they might be, they went to southeastern Louisiana on the road opening weekend and just put it to those guys, swept them 3 games. And then, more importantly, on Monday, went to second-ranked LSU and lost 10-7. So gave LSU a big fight down there, and they got a couple guys who can absolutely hit the snot out of the baseball. A couple guys, I think one guy's maybe got 4 home runs this year, another got 5. They got some guys who can really, really hit. And in Tennessee's yard, which is, we'll see what the weather's doing this weekend, but usually pretty good place for hitters. And Tennessee's got some high velo guys, so that there could be some fireworks in that series over the weekend. Looking forward to that one. I kind of hate that I'll be missing the middle game of that series because I'll be in Nashville covering basketball, because you can't do 2 things at once, especially when they're not in the same city. So I'll be watching one, monitoring the other, and we'll see how that goes, trying to focus mainly on what I'm watching. But that Blaine Brown character, let me tell you, this kid, talent, faces 3 guys as an opener yesterday on the mound, strikes out all 3. And I think when you look at the way he delivers the ball, if you hear Elander talk about showing a little more athleticism, when you watch him in the box hitting and running, he looks much more athletic than he does when he's on the mound. On the mound, he can seem a little more robotic almost, or a little bit rigid, just like he's not really opening up and showing that athleticism, because I think that might give him a couple extra ticks on the velo and a little more explosive stuff breaking. But stuff's already good. The stuff is very, very real. He is not a thrower. He is a pitcher. There is a difference. There are throwers and there are pitchers. He's a pitcher. He was supposed to be more of a pitcher than a hitter coming into school, but he ended up kind of blossoming physically and doing a lot more stuff that way. And you're like, hey, this bat plays. This is real. This is real stuff. And so he's not a great defensive player. I think he'll DH some. I think he'll play in left field some. If they can get him to play in left, that would help, because that gives them more flexibility at the DH spot when he's not pitching. So that would be a big boost. But on days where he's, if he's going to pitch, man, that's big bat in the lineup there. So that's really helpful. And last night, a couple other guys got off to good starts as well, or continued their good starts. Henry Ford hit another home run there. Old Model T himself hit one up into the wind, got it out, got really under it, but wind was blowing out. Left field porch ain't that big, so he hit it hard enough, 105 off the bat, but hit it really high and got some wind to help him get it over there. And Stone Lawless hit a 410-foot, just launched. He launched one. That's if he's going to keep hitting. If Stone Lawless, everybody knows how good of a catcher he is. And last season he could hit the midweek pitching. He had a hard time sometimes against the SEC pitching. They think that's going to change. They think this kid could be a big league catcher one day. That's what kind of upside they think he has. And he's one of like 6 catchers on this roster. And I'm telling you right now, Garrett Wright, we've talked about him a lot, the transfer, who can catch and play center field, which is an interesting combo. You talk about 2-way guys, that's a really interesting combo. He's going to want to get back from that hamate bone injury pretty quick, because if he lets Stone Lawless and then behind the plate, and Levi Clark's another guy who can catch. Jay Abernathy in center field had, I think, 2 RBIs, 3 hits last night. He's going to want to get back, because Tennessee's got the talent on this roster that you don't want to be sitting there. You don't want to be getting Wally pipped. And that's got the ability to happen there. So quick note, last thing, there's the 4 injured guys for Tennessee could be back as soon as this weekend. Wright, that might be a little soon. Arvidsson, that might be a little soon. But I think you'll see the other 2 potentially get in the mix. Arvidsson could be back too, though. There's a couple other guys, Blake Grimmer dealing with the back. So they've got some guys who are kind of inching back, and I think you'll see them get back soon. But big weekend for them coming up. Obviously, Kent State is a game that you got to win that series. If you sweep, that's good, but you want to win that series. That's a pretty good baseball team, that gives you some more confidence going forward, because in a couple weeks, you open that series in Texas with a game against number 1 UCLA, and that's a big, big game coming up for Tennessee just down the road. So want to keep that thing going, get rhythm going, and get ready for that. So thanks for dealing with some of our tech issues earlier today. We apologize for that. That was corrected, and so it should not be an issue again moving forward. Knock on wood. And we'll have basketball to discuss tonight. We'll be in here tomorrow to discuss that. Get you ready for baseball this weekend. Get you ready for softball this weekend. Get you ready for Lady Vols this weekend. See what's going on with Joey Aguilar. Boy, do we have lots to talk about, and we'll do more of it in 23 hours.